and I lit a lot of guys up, and a lot of guys got addicted to the cocaine that I sold them, and it got to a point to where, I couldn't turn the boys down, and guys like Playboy Buddy Rose, Kurt Hennig, there's guys that are deceased, and I take a lot of heat for that. I take a lot of blame in my own heart for that.
Right.
If you look at Kurt Hennig, died of cocaine intoxication. First time he ever did cocaine was with what I sold him. Buddy Rose, that I sold him. Go on and on. There's a list a mile long. There's Junkyard Dog that's deceased. Adrian Adonis, that's deceased. So yeah, I have to live with that.
Right.
Okay, and I want to know, and look in the camera to Vince and say, hey, how are we independent contractors? If you buy the airline ticket for us to go to the show, if you tell us who the finish is, now we go to the city, the town that we're supposed to go to that you book for us, and then you come and say in the lawsuit that the reason is that you're independent contractor because you buy your own hotel. I look in the camera and say, listen, Vince, you are one ignorant asshole. You fly us from New York to Los Angeles, and you expect us to sleep in the street? Of course we got to get a hotel.
Right.
That's part. Well, when Jesse brought it up, I was for it, and I think Hulk Hogan was the only one that wasn't for it because he was making 10% of the gate.
I heard the story he stooged it off to McMahon.
That's correct, and that's what turned me against him right there, was WrestleMania 3. I had nothing against Hulk until that time.
Right. Oh, so
he had doctors Ahorian and about 4 other doctors. We could go and we could get. Listen, we could have it sent to a hotel in advance and know that drug is going to be there. So we became 90% of us became drug addicts, me included, for the painkiller, so we could wrestle every night and travel and take Xanax and sleep on a plane and so forth. So we were, after a while, I think what Vince did is he put us under his thumb. So that's why I called him last time in a nasty way, but I'll say it nice this time. Okay. He's a pimp.
Right.
And we were his flying prostitutes. Because literally, the professional wrestlers didn't care about the $10,000, $14,000 you're making a week. You'd think with that kind of money, we'd have some kind of security. But there's zero security in pro wrestling. There's no retirement. Well, prior to that, I had a suicide attempt, but we didn't get to that yet. But the whole point is, that was a turnaround point for me. And then I had 3 or 4 relapses. I quit for a month and would go back, quit for maybe 3 months and go back, until finally I called Vince McMahon up, and I talked to Howard Finkel, who's a good friend of mine, and I heard he's sick.
He is, yeah, he is, unfortunately.
And he's one of the greater guys I've ever met in pro wrestling, actually. And I'm really sorry to hear about Howard Finkel, but he basically told me that I said I'm going to sue Vince, and he said Vince said you couldn't rub 2 quarters together. I said okay. I told you, tell Vince to stick it up his ass, and I'm going to sue him. And that's exactly what I did. I sued him for $5 million, and then during that point, he said that I couldn't get one guy that would back what I say, not one.
Vince said that.
Vince said that. And dig up the grave. If you think it's all the work and they didn't die, dig up Hercules Hernandez's grave or Kurt Hennig's or all these guys that have died. And then see if their body's in there. And then go back to their kids, and you want to put them in the Hall of Fame right after Kerry Von Erich died. This really struck a real nerve because Kerry was a good friend. 93, Kerry was so hooked on drugs, he started writing his own prescriptions. Vince was slowly cutting him out of the play because he squeezed him like a sponge, got everything out of him. And then all of a sudden he fires him. What's he going to do? Now, there's the pimp. He's a drug dealer. He has nowhere else to go. So he writes another prescription, he's going to go to prison. So he goes out. What's he do? He takes, I think it's a 357, puts it to his heart in Denton, Texas, and blows himself away. I put that on Vince totally because...
Right, okay.
Okay. No prescriptions, ever. Dr. Zahorian served 8 years in prison now.
Right.
Vince didn't serve a day. Why? Because Hulk Hogan went and he didn't have to testify. They got him out of it. And then I think it was Billy Graham that went in there and really pissed me off. Went in there and took money for a hip replacement, whatever, and lied for Vince.
Right.
Or Vince would have went downriver. In my heart. That's why I got into cocaine. I became a leg breaker and worse. And I can't get into that, right, obviously.
Right.
But
Right.
But I'm no saint, and I'm asking for God's forgiveness now. But I did things that I shouldn't have done, and I'm gonna go ahead and meet the Maker one day, and he'll go ahead and judge me on it. The murder of Nancy Argentino, that could have been it, right, Vince? Of course, he's going to play stupid to that. They just opened the case up in 2015. I seen with Jimmy Snuka, and then he died, and he's on our lawsuit, and he really did have so many concussions. He did lose his mind there towards the end, so they dropped it. But I had talked to Bruiser Brody. His original plan was to not the Iron Sheik had the belt. He won. He was going to put it in a plan with the Bruiser Brody was going to come in and take the belt from Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
And then
Bruiser told you that.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I'm telling you that's a fact, I
Okay.
guess. Okay, so Brody he's a Japan guy. He never worked in the States much, Japan and Puerto Rico. So when he didn't do that, Brody was so mad he was going to go over there and beat the shit out of Vince, and I mean, probably ended up breaking his neck. So he ended up paying, Brody said he paid him $50,000 a year cash to shut up about it. And it got to where he wanted more. And the next thing you know, right after Andy Gibb dies, I'm at home and I read where Brody gets stabbed to death in Puerto Rico. If you know Bruiser Brody, you know he's one of the badasses that there's ever been in pro wrestling, if not the baddest. And what he says, he means.
Yes.
And Vince was terrified of this guy, and so was Hulk Hogan terrified of working with this guy in 2006, but I can't prove it. Somebody tried to kill me, and also 2001, 2007, but who's ever doing it isn't professional.
You've had attempts on your life?
Yeah. Well, if they go to court, he could be convicted of murder.
Right.
They can investigate. Why didn't they investigate it anyway? Money talks and bullshit walks. All you have to do in this world is follow the money. That's it.
Right.
Spit in Vince's face, spit landed right in his eye, knocked him out in the dressing room. Undisputed knocked him out.
Right.
Vince even come out bleeding from the nose and the ear. And so 2 years later, he gets an opportunity to get Owen Hart, his brother, 90 feet or 80 feet up in the air, and a safety harness that holds 2 tons breaks. And he falls. In my opinion, Harley Race was 10 times the world champion that Ric Flair was, because he knew how to change up a match.
Right.
Dory Funk, same way. Prior to that, there was a thing that happened in Arkansas that involved 2 little kids that were killed on a railroad track.
Okay.
I was sent down there to, there was drops that were being stolen, cocaine drops. I was sent down there to take care of 2 state police officers from Arkansas. But it was an inside job. That will go into later. So there's his money. So he's full of shit to sit there and say I didn't pay him no money. I paid him $40,000 for Medellin Cartel uncut coke. That's worth a lot of money. And so that's what he wanted. He was a cocaine addict. Anybody who wants to say he wasn't is full of shit. Billy Graham has said it many times. There's anybody who knew him would see him before any interview. He'd be snorting cocaine. He did it in WrestleMania 3 in a locker room with a lot of guys. I did my thing too. I did my dope. So that's what happened. And so no, I didn't pay him any cash, but it cost me $45,000 or $40,000 for the coke.
Have you ever told that before?
No, not that I know. With I known Rob a while. I know you guys now, and I feel more comfortable. Last time I was wrong when I told you, cussing all that. Told you guys to back off, let me take the mic. Am I radical? Yeah, of course. Am I truthful? 100%.
Are you dangerous?
Am I dangerous? Damn right I'm dangerous.
Right. Is that what they fear?
I don't know what they fear. I mean, you got to tell me what they fear, because I don't fear anything. It's Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King. They're all martyrs.
Right.
If I come across crazy, I must be the smartest, craziest guy there ever is. Because I had one of the highest IQs until I got my brains beat in,
Right.
I'd be in prison.
You think so?
I'd be dead or in prison. Yeah, I was. We'll get to. I didn't know if I was going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up, and it's because of Roddy Piper. And I have nothing against gay people at all, as long as they leave me alone, right?
Right.
I told people before, when I was 4 years old, I was brutally raped.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring that up.
No, well, I'll bring it up then, because I'm the one that was raped. I was 4 years old. A guy used to masturbate on my rectum and lick it off. So I go up there. Hogan's in his dressing room getting ready. It says Hulk Hogan, the way he always had it. And I went to him. He was sitting down. Not once did he ever stand up. And while he was sitting down, I said, "Hey Hulk, you're gonna book me on the. I'm still gonna get a 4-year, $200 million deal." And he goes, "Brother, yeah, I'm booking it, but you're not gonna get that. I said, "We'll go. Why don't you go ahead and you stand up, man?" I said, "I'm calling you out right now. You and me out here, and Randy's gonna referee it. So it's just going to be you and me. Don't worry about him interfering." And he wouldn't get up. And Roddy and I were always close in a big sense with vitamin C as well. And Roddy would invest through me, and I would always make it good with Roddy. Bud Sawyer would invest with me. He did make it good. It cost him his life, not by me. I would never do that to the boys.
Right.
But he owed somebody some big money, and so did Gino Hernandez, and they ended up paying with their life. When you don't pay dealers, that's what happened to you. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't take it. I started taking 40 Vicodin a day. I couldn't get enough. We get bottles of 500 from Dr. Zahorian, and I'd take them. I got to the point where I took the Vicodin like this. I didn't even count. I was feeling really dizzy, so I think he tried to help me get on the bed. I'm not sure, because I can't say for sure, but I ended up on the bed. I woke up the next day, and I had wrestling boots on that weren't tied. I was completely naked. I had a Billy Jack hat covering my crotch, and I had sperm. Everybody knows what sperm smells like, bleach.
Right.
And all over my face. My eyes were glued, and here I am. I don't know if I took it up the rear. Whatever happened, I don't know. But all I know is I got in the shower. I missed my flight, and I got to the show. It's true. Tom Zink is a real good. Tom Zink turned into an alcoholic, drug addict when they took him off the Can-Am Connection because he got raped. He told me this personally, and I knew it.
The same way you?
Yes, and they took him off.
It's okay.
I love the fans, the fan part of it, and the kids and all that. I loved the fans.
They loved you,
and they did. And I loved them because they reminded me of my dad. And my dad, it made me feel good that I'd done something good for my dad. That's the only reason I got into the wrestling later with the WWF. I still throw myself under the bus, and I just want Vince to come with me, and then Patterson and everybody else to be held accountable. And when they're held accountable, I'll come forward and tell everybody what I've done so I could be held accountable for other horrific things that I've done in my life. Until that happens, I guess no one's going to be held accountable. What I have said is the truth. And anything they can say, of course they're going to deny it. But all you got to do is look up records of Hercules Hernandez, Rude, all these guys dying these mysterious deaths, why they died so soon. And it's drug addiction on top of guilt.